Welcome back. You're watching Newsx. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. Two back-to-back earthquakes of magnitude 7.7 and 6.4 have struck Myanmar, with strong tremors in Thailand's capital of Bangkok, flattening a high-rise and prompting the government to declare an emergency, also to shut down the metro and rail services. Strong aftershocks were felt in Meghalaya and several northeastern states in India. Also, Bangladesh and China's southwest Yunnan province feeling tremors. In Myanmar, 3 people have died after a mosque partially collapsed. The iconic 90-year-old Ava Bridge in Myanmar has also crumbled into the Irrawaddy River due to the massive quake, whose epicenter was near Sagaing. Over the next 30 minutes, we will be focusing on visuals coming in from Myanmar, where majority of the damage and casualties are expected. In fact, we're getting breaking news coming in. Photos from Mandalay show significant damage to the Mahamuni Pagoda, one of the country's most sacred Buddhist sites. The earthquake also caused the collapse of the Vailuvon monastery, resulting in more casualties too. So these are, of course, those pictures coming in from Myanmar. Anand Sharma, President, Indian Meteorological Society, is joining us on the broadcast. Anand Sharma, many sacred Buddhist sites damaged, ravaged as a result of this quake today.
Yes, I think it's a very, large-scale earthquake, and 7.7 magnitude earthquake is a really huge earthquake. One, secondly, its depth was only 10 kilometers, so that means it was very near to the surface. Two, number three, it was very close to Mandalay city, which is again highly populated and second biggest city of Myanmar. So all these factors, and you have all these tall buildings, construction going on everywhere, and even people don't follow proper building by codes. So all that, naturally, so I expect huge damage there. I don't know, how many people have died, but definitely a lot of people must have died, and a lot of damage because of this large magnitude earthquake of 7.7. Yes.
All right, we're getting more breaking news now coming in. In Mandalay, Myanmar's second largest city and close to the epicenter, the earthquake has damaged part of the former Royal Palace and buildings as well. So these are more updates coming in with regards to the damage of today's earthquake. Jayajit Bhattacharya, economist, is with us live. Jayajit Bhattacharya, news also coming in of the former Royal Palace in Myanmar and other buildings close to it also being damaged as a result of this quake today.
Yeah, it's, as was mentioned, that this is pretty serious quake. 7.7, as we know, the Richter scale is an exponential scale. So 7.7 is not linearly more than 7, it's exponentially more. And therefore, we can see the extent of damage that has happened. We have already had over 3,400 earthquakes from the beginning of this year, which are above the scale of 4. So this seems to be a large number of earthquakes happening. We have seen that from year 1900 onwards, there has been at least 15 earthquakes per year, which is above the scale of 7. And this is the third earthquake in this year, which has been above the scale of 7. But the problem is that because of the density, and as the previous speaker mentioned, the different the buildings that are being created with concrete and so on and so forth, the number of casualties are going up because of the earthquake. It's not that the number of earthquakes are going up. And it's really sad to see the damage that has happened in Myanmar and to the presidential palace in Thailand. But I hope that the casualties are limited. Unfortunately, as you will notice, most of the casualties are because of building collapse. It's because of the concrete. It's not that the earthquake per se kills, it's because of the buildings falling down. And I think it's a warning sign for India, which is obviously a very densely located country. It has got a very dense population, and we've already seen quite a few series of earthquakes happening in and around Delhi, which is a very densely populated area. I think we need to quickly see what are the learnings, quickly turn around our norms for building and enforcement of those norms, which clearly we have seen is not happening in spite of all the warnings. So we ourselves are setting on a time bomb as we look at what's unraveling in Myanmar and in Thailand.
Okay, let me in fact quickly also join Major General Dhruv Katoch, Director India Foundation, into the broadcast at this point. Major General Katoch, from pilgrim sites in Myanmar to their iconic bridge as well, the Ava Bridge collapsing, the extent of the damage has been very severe in Myanmar. What do you attribute this to?
Thank you, Uday. Uday, this is very tragic, and but these are natural disasters for which I'm afraid I can't attribute a natural disaster like an earthquake to anything. It's got nothing to do with climate control and global warming, etc. These things have been happening for thousands of years, and they'll continue for the next thousand. It just so happens that as the epicenter is near Mandalay, which is the second largest city in Myanmar, the impact in Myanmar is tremendous, and it has gone all the way down to Thailand. And then on the north, it has gone to the Yunnan and Sichuan province. And of course, we've also felt the tremors in northeast India. Bangladesh should have also had that impact. I have spoken to some people in Thailand, and what they tell me was that even for a good 1 hour after the impact, their legs were not steady. I mean, that was the level of severity, and they have been talking about not having seen an earthquake of this severity ever. So it is very serious. I think in Mandalay it becomes even more serious for two reasons. One, there is an ongoing insurgency there, and with with the chaotic situation and with the governance structures not really in place, with the government in power, the military not in control of the entire situation, and many rebel groups operating, getting relief will be very, very difficult. Added to that, the communication infrastructure has broken down. So how are they going to coordinate in an environment which where there is internal turmoil and where the communication has broken down is going to be a very, very difficult task. When we're looking at Thailand, just in a few days from now, on the 2nd of April, the BIMSTEC, the foreign ministers will be meeting there in the BIMSTEC conference. Now, if they can pull it through, then of course they would have done very well. That means they've got to act in order. Otherwise, I think there are going to be tremendous challenges there also. But the good news as far as Thailand is concerned is that the Bangkok airport is safe. So I can't say the same for the Mandalay airport, but the Bangkok airport is safe. So to get the relief teams there, to get the rescue, the support, all the anything required to help those people, that possibility exists. But it is a tragic situation, and I think India is going to pitch in very firmly to help out. I hope the rest of the world pitches in also to ease the suffering of the people. Uday.
All right, let me also join Shoaib Chaudhary, a Bangladeshi journalist, in at this point. Shoaib Chaudhary, let me first ask you, any reports of tremors from Bangladesh? We were learning that even some aftershocks were witnessed in Bangladesh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Uday. Actually, in Bangladesh, this earthquake was felt in Chittagong and also in Dhaka city, but there is no, until now, there is no report of any casualty or any aftermath of this earthquake. And as well, I was listening to the conversation from Mr. Katut about Thailand. As you know, that in Thailand now the situation is quite tense, but in Myanmar the number of deaths is over 200 until now. And the authorities, I have spoken to some authorities in Myanmar, and I fully agree with Mr. Katut, that in Myanmar there is insurgency and the government exactly is not in control of Mandalay. So the number of casualties in Myanmar could be even over 500, which is a very large number. And until now, people are rushing to the only hospital in Myanmar, this 1,000-bed hospital in Naypyidaw, which the hospital, the emergency section itself has also been affected. So people are not getting treatment. In Myanmar, the situation is extremely dire. The situation in Thailand is not only the collapse of this 30-story building, and until now we know that there is a report of death of only 2 people. Maybe there will be few more, but in Thailand it's not that dense or serious. It's not in Bangladesh. Bangladesh, these earthquakes were felt almost simultaneously, but there is no effect of this earthquake. The situation actually is very dire in Myanmar.
Yes, it certainly is. Om Prakash Singh, former DG NDRF, also with us now. Om Prakash Singh, what do you make of the aftermath of this quake? Also, the SOPs, were they followed? Are people sensitized enough on the SOPs to do after such a disaster? Also the authorities on disaster management techniques and procedures as well?
Good evening, Mr. Uday. I would like to draw a comparison. In fact, earthquakes cannot be compared at all, but it is often said that the buildings kill, not the earthquake per se. And I would like to draw your attention towards 3 earthquakes. In fact, the present one being included in that. 2015, we had the Nepal earthquake with the same magnitude, 7.8. In 2023, we had in Turkey 7.8. And now we have 2 back-to-back earthquakes of magnitude 7.7 as well as 6.4 striking Myanmar, and also the tremors, strong tremors in fact, being felt in Thailand's capital, Bangkok, flattening a high-rise building and prompting the government to declare a state of emergency and shutting down all the metro and rail networks. Strong aftershocks are something which we will have to think of. In fact, when I led the Indian team of rescuers in Nepal way back in 2015, there was this particular earthquake fell on 25th of April, and on 26th of April, again, there was an aftershock. So we are going to anticipate and expect a lot of aftershocks in between. So that is one thing. The second is, now we'll have to get back to the rescue efforts. That's very important. And how quickly and how effectively we try to detect the bodies, live bodies inside the debris, inside the fallen structures. That is something which we'll have to do it. And for that, the government will have to, and I'm sure the government must be doing it, will have to galvanize all rescue efforts there in those 2 countries. In fact, United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, has given the report that some very, very significant damages have been made, and the most affected districts and the most affected places are the center of country, where these schools have been closed, hospitals are in a very different shape, rescue efforts are there for the missing persons also, they are being traced. Police is also doing its work, police dogs have been deployed, even somewhere I was reading that the drone is being used. So all these efforts are being made, and I'm sure that the authorities there, particularly with the standard operating procedures being in place, they must be doing it. So the main emphasis, the main focus now should be to see that how many people are trapped inside and how can they be safely evacuated. The buildings which are partially damaged, they have to be very, very careful about it. So all these things have to be done. And India, as usual, India has always helped these countries, and the Indian government must be thinking of such something, that how they can be helped in this way also. So this is my initial assessment of the whole situations. And I tell you one thing, that the damages must be very severe, but it also depends on the population density as well as how earthquake-proof areas are being made. It has nothing to do with the climate change as per se, but depends on how densely populated the areas are and whether it hits in the daytime or in nighttime. Look at the similarity. Even Nepal earthquake in 2015 struck at 11.56, 11 o'clock, 11:56, and here also you have 11.53. So of the same magnitude. So all these things are there, and I'm sure that the government would take necessary efforts to go for the quick rescue efforts in order to save people.
Tsunami have since erupted, with the Tsunami Warning Center of China's Ministry of Natural Resources assessing local tsunamis may occur, although China would not be impacted by them. Mandalay and Naypyidaw airports have both been closed after an air traffic control tower also collapsed during the quake. So we're learning that an air traffic tower has collapsed. Meanwhile, Anand Sharma, interestingly, an institute in China warning of tsunamis. Is that a possibility?
Happens is, if there is a earthquake of more than 6.5 magnitude on Richter scale, and it is close to the coast, or the center is maybe the earthquake center, if suppose it's in the nearby ocean, then generally the warning is issued. So if the coast is quite nearby, actually, but this area, particularly Mandalay, is in the central Myanmar. But normally, if it's very close to the coast, then if it is more than 6.5 on the Richter scale, generally a tsunami warning is issued for a tsunami. Yeah,
okay, more breaking news meanwhile coming in. Thailand has called for military help to deal with earthquake victims. Army hospitals are treating patients alongside regular hospitals as well. So this is the latest inputs coming in. Major General Katoch, come in here. We're learning army hospitals are also treating the patients in Thailand. Thailand has called for military help as well. That means obviously the severity has risen.
Uday, the severity is tremendous especially in Bangkok. But you can imagine if it is so severe in Bangkok, in Thailand, what the impact is in Mandalay. Mandalay, I think, will be devastated. So in Thailand, what has happened is, a state of emergency, as you have mentioned earlier, has been declared. I think every available organ of the government will be used. But the videos which I saw at that time, that was just after the quake had occurred, it appears to be that, yes, the people are very conscious of what is happening. The trains, the metros, everything has stopped there. But I think there is a semblance of order and they will be able to get back to a semblance of normalcy if they have not already got back to it. The rescue efforts in the buildings which have collapsed will take some time. That is the time when you've got to get heavy equipment, you've got to get it to the site and then put them across, and try to, that will be a process of the next 2-3 days. But I think as an immediate action, I think the government of Thailand has done it well. I'm not aware of what the government of Myanmar has done and their civil society, because there is chaos there. There is a insurgency, there is a civil war like situation in Myanmar. So it'll be very difficult to actually execute support missions, even if India intends to help. But I think in Thailand, we will be, if they ask for our help, I'm quite certain that the Modi government will be more than happy to oblige. And I presume the NDRF would have already been warned to provide assistance, which by tomorrow, in my view, by tomorrow that assistance and our relief missions will be sent. Uday.
Okay, more breaking news meanwhile coming in this hour. We're learning that in another visual coming in now showing the aftermath of the earthquake. It shows oscillation of skyscrapers at Park Origin Thonglor complex. Could we please go full frame to these visuals? We're learning in the complex in Bangkok, that is the Park Origin Thonglor complex. There are oscillation of skyscrapers happening as well. So scary visuals coming in, Jayjit Bhattacharya, or particularly of skyscrapers. We saw visuals, of course, of water spilling out from swimming pools, now swaying coming in also.
Yeah, as I was mentioning a little while ago, that the way the building is created would have a huge impact on how the building survives post earthquake. I mean, there are much more severe earthquakes happening in Taiwan and Japan, but they survive because of the way the building has been constructed. It also sways, but that sways by design, and therefore is able to impact the energy that is released by the earthquake. And no damage happens, very limited damage happens, and we haven't heard of casualties because of earthquake in these regions. And therefore, the challenge is, especially in Myanmar and in Thailand, that how do we rebuild, the devastation that has happened? How do we rebuild people's lives? And while we, reach there, how do we even have the immediate support being provided to them? As General Katoch was saying, that if there's a request coming to India, obviously India will send the support that is needed to provide the immediate help, and we have done that always. And I'm sure other countries will also pitch in. But post that, we need to make sure that the economy gets rebuilt. Who puts in the money to rebuild it? How do we rebuild the buildings and people's lives? And it's not just physical damage, there is mental trauma that also happens. And unfortunately, post-disaster, we ignore these parts of it. Once the immediate relief is given, we kind of forget about the overall reconstruction, which is both physical and psychological. And I think those are matters that we need to look at quickly after we take care of the immediate relief that needs to be provided. Also, do keep in mind that there is absolutely nobody in charge in Myanmar. Again, as General Katoch had mentioned, the ruling junta is not ruling entire Myanmar, it's fragmented. And therefore, how do we really reach out to those who need support, and who facilitates us reaching out? Even if foreign aid comes in, under whose facilitation and protection will foreign aid operate?
Okay.
So it's a much larger challenge in Myanmar.
Yes, Anand Sharma, you wanted to come back in. You had a point to make. Please go ahead.
To add that if we remember on 23rd March 1839, there was a bigger earthquake of 8.2 magnitude, and their former capital of Ava was totally destroyed. So I mean, we are not learning anything from the history, that it's a very highly prone, earthquake prone area. So building bylaws should be strictly followed. But what is happening that are not being followed. As our previous speaker said, in Japan, they have 8 Richter magnitude earthquakes, but damages are bare minimum because the kind of earthquake resistant buildings
Yes.
are constructed. So that is missing totally in most
Yes.
of the country.
Okay. We also have Dr. Ashish Kumar with us now, Director SVCC, Embassy of India, Rangoon. Dr. Kumar, thank you very much for being with us today. Just tell us about what the situation there is. आपने आज क्या अनुभव किया? What you experienced, Dr. Ashish Kumar?
Today the situation in Myanmar is not very good. लेकिन जो हमारा अनुभव है वो जीवन में हमने ऐसा कभी नहीं देखा और सुना था। उस समय जब भूकंप आया मैं अपने कार्यालय में था और लगभग 6 से 8 इंच तक हमारी कुर्सियां आगे पीछे हो रही थी, जिसका अनुभव मैं शब्दों में नहीं बता सकता ये कितना भयानक और भयावह तथा लोगों को डराने वाला था। हमारी जो एम्बेसी की बिल्डिंग है वो भी लगभग 120 वर्ष पुरानी है, तो उस बिल्डिंग के बारे में भी अजीब अजीब चिंताएं हमारे मन में आ गई कि कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि इस भयानक भूकंप में कोई बहुत बड़ा नुकसान हो जाए। परंतु ईश्वर की कृपा से रंगून में सब ठीक रहा। परंतु म्यांमार के अन्य शहरों में मांडले है, नेपिटो है, टोंगू है, इन जगहों पे बहुत तबाही हुई है। धार्मिक महत्व के बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बिल्डिंगों को बहुत क्षति हुई है, मंदिरों को, पगोडा को, मस्जिदों को, और अनेक लोग घायल हुए हैं। धीरे धीरे इसकी सूचना हम सबके सामने आएगी। और यहाँ जो बातें चल रही हैं उसके अनुसार भूकंप की तीव्रता 8.2, द मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ दिस अर्थक्वेक वाज 8.2। सो सचमुच ये बहुत कठिन था इस समय को देखना और महसूस करना।
जी डॉक्टर कुमार, भारतीय समुदाय की बात करें तो क्या कोई खबर आई है आपको? भारतीय समुदाय सब ठीक है वहाँ पे? आर यू इन टच विद द लोकल इंडियंस देयर? एनी इमरजेंसी नंबर दैट द एम्बेसी हैज पुट आउट आल्सो?
भारतीय समुदाय यहाँ पे लगभग ठीक है। रंगून में तो कोई कैजुअलिटी नहीं है, किसी प्रकार का कोई ज़्यादा नुकसान नहीं है। कुछ बिल्डिंगों में क्रैक्स वगैरह हैं, परंतु धीरे धीरे खबर यहाँ आएगी। मांडले के रीजन में जो हमारे लोग हैं उनसे हमारा संपर्क हुआ है, तो वहाँ पे स्थिति थोड़ी गंभीर है। कुछ लोगों को चोट आई है, कुछ लोग घायल हैं, और मानसिक रूप से लोग ज़्यादा विक्षिप्त हुए हैं इस भयानक त्रासदी को देखते हुए। रंगून में जी
क्या अभी भी आशंका है आफ्टर शॉक्स की भी?
हाँ, इसकी आशंका यहाँ बहुत प्रबल है, और चूंकि यहाँ के लोग बहुत गॉड फियरिंग है, सब लोग बहुत ही प्रार्थना कर रहे हैं ईश्वर से। बुद्ध की धरती है, शांति प्रिय लोग हैं यहाँ के, तो उन सब के मन में एक भय व्याप्त हो गया है कि न जाने आज रात को क्या होगा, कल क्या होगा। और कुछ इसको एस्ट्रोलॉजिकल, ये लोग बहुत एस्ट्रोलॉजी में विश्वास करते हैं। कल से शनि की महादशा बदल रही है, उस पर ये लोग चर्चा कर रहे हैं। हमारे ऑफिस के जो लोकल स्टाफ हैं वो भी इन चीज़ों के बारे में बहुत गंभीरता से बातें कर रहे थे। तो मुझे लगा कि देखिए किस तरह से ये लोग सोचते हैं आज के इस मॉडर्न ज़माने में, जब चांद पे और मंगल पे जाने की बात हो रही है। पर साइंटिफिकली ये लोग एस्ट्रोलॉजी को बहुत मानते हैं, और साइंटिफिक एक इसको ये लोग विधा मानते हैं। तो
आपके आसपास डॉक्टर आशीष कुमार क्या कुछ देखा आपने? हैव यू सीन डैमेज टू लाइफ एंड प्रॉपर्टी योरसेल्फ? हैव यू सीन हैव यू हर्ड ऑफ एनी रिपोर्ट्स ऑफ इंजरीज अराउंड यू एज वेल?
नो, यहाँ पे कोई ऐसी इंजरी नहीं है, और यहाँ पे कोई ऐसा यांगून सिटी में कोई नुकसान नहीं हुआ है मेजर। लेकिन जो हम लोगों ने विजुअल्स देखे हैं दूसरे शहरों के, वो बहुत ही भयानक और डराने वाले हैं।
और जैसे आप कह रहे हैं जो मांडले में जो आपकी एम्बेसी है, जो आपका इंस्टीट्यूट है, जो आपके सहपाठी हैं, वो कह रहे हैं वहाँ पे थोड़ी भयावह स्थिति है।
हाँ, वहाँ पे मैंने वहाँ पे काउंसिल जनरल का ऑफिस, हमारा सीजी ऑफिस है, तो हमने सीजी ऑफिस में तो बात नहीं की है, लेकिन जो वहाँ का लोकल समुदाय है हमारा, उनसे लगातार बात हो रही है। और वो लोग खास करके राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ की बहुत बड़ी शाखा है, वो लोग निरंतर इस कार्य में लग गए हैं, लोगों को राहत पहुंचाने में, मलबा हटाने में, और जो भी चीज़ें हुई हैं नुकसान, उसके लिए वो लोग कमर कस के खड़े हैं, और ये भारतीय समुदाय हर प्रकार की सहायता के लिए वहाँ उपलब्ध है।
शुक्रिया हमारे संग जुड़ने के लिए डॉक्टर आशीष कुमार, और मैं यही कहूँगा कि आप सुरक्षित रहें, आप सेफ रहें, और जो हमारा समुदाय है उनका भी आप वहाँ ख्याल रखें। वक्त अब हो चुका है एक छोटे से ब्रेक का। ब्रेक के लिए हम रुकते हैं। इस बड़ी खबर पे हमारी नज़र बने रहेगी। लेट्स टेक अ ब्रेक।